Oh, I'm sorry we
Really?
didn't talk more about the Seahawks. We could
No,
have.
you're
That's
not.
okay. We'll talk more about them when they don't win 7 games this year. Hey,
Oh, hey, oh,
hey,
hey,
Baba the Boopy.
hey!
Hey,
I'm walking.
I'm walking here with your shoots and your shirts.
And speaking of getting the party started,
for the victory lap though. They ain't never seen nothing like this before. Lit the room when I came through the front door. Ask me if I should overcome, what for? Train in the trees, please walk my sycamore. Touch burning sands, cross lands and stormy shore seasons in the year, yeah. Switch gears, with keeping haters in the rear. At the blood, sweat and tears and my goal so near. I see my victory so clear. I see my victory so clear. It's a day, we break through. 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 It's a day, we break through.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the world's favorite podcast having to do with Formula One and football. Our two loves. We love football and we love Formula One. Thus, the Gridiron Podcast was born. I'm Sean Barie, and if you're watching on Twitch, Twitter, X, whatever, or YouTube, up in the left-hand corner, we got the bald behemoth holding down the land, and he's wearing sleeves this week, folks. Nick Shook, covering up the guns. For shame, Nick. For shame.
It's because I just got back from the gym. I'm gross, and I'm a little hairy, and I look like a monster. I don't want to look like a monster on the podcast. Those of you who watch us on YouTube, I like to be well-groomed, and right now I'm not. So
Not a monster.
Super
but he
Bowl
is a
shirt it
beast.
is.
He is a beast. And if also, if you're watching on Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube, up in the right-hand corner, our Canadian queen, Katie Caldwell. It is episode 44 of the Gridiron Podcast, a.k.a. the Lewis Hamilton episode, a.k.a. the we need to get it out under an hour because we got to get Katie out the door to go to trivia night, and we're going to make that
Sean,
deadline.
I've
folks.
missed the window. We're good.
We're going to
The
make
window
that
is
deadline,
over.
folks. We do have a jam-packed show for you tonight, though. We have the NFC West going along with our division previews as we get ready for the NFL season kicking off here in a couple of weeks. And then we've also, as the summer break winds down in Formula One, got some superlatives to hand out. Some funny superlatives, because who doesn't like voting on that stuff? No one voted on these. This is just what's popping off the top of our head at the moment. Quick check, though. How are you guys doing?
Alive and well.
Sweet.
And I have nothing further to say in the interest of time.
That's all we can really ask for in these times, in this economy. We're doing our
Right.
best.
You got a little
Oh,
smoothie
too
there,
big.
Nick? Got a little
Too big of a
smoothie?
protein smoothie gulp. Oh, it's tasty though.
You got a little chocolate smoothie there, a little protein, a little magic bullet action. Not a sponsor.
No, not a sponsor. This is a nondescript extended or delayed release casein and whey protein blend from your favorite supplement store that I will
Yummy.
not name.
All right, episode 44 of the Gridiron Podcast. Let's get started with our division previews. We finished off 2 last week, so if you haven't checked that episode out, go check that out right now. We're on to the NFC West, everyone's favorite West division. I don't know, there's only 2 of them, so at least half the country's favorite West division. And as we do this every week, guys, we start off with the division champ from the last year. We run through the list, we run through their schedule, and then I just kind of, off the top of my head again, give an over or under win total with, and I'm going to be frank with this, very minimal research done. I just say, you know what? 10.5, 7.5, this is how it works. And normally, I mean, I'm not far off. So the Sean Barie Sportsbook has been proven science. We're starting off, of course, with the San Francisco 49ers, runners-up last year, coming up just short in the Super Bowl in overtime against the Chiefs. Finished the year 12-5 last year, and on paper, just one of the best teams in the NFL yet again. Nick, go ahead and throw up their schedule for us.
Sorry, there's a fly in here.
You look distracted. I was wondering what you were looking at.
I couldn't tell if it was a fly or something else, and I was tripping out for a second.
Who was the Jets coach before Robert Saleh? What was his name?
Jets coach before Robert Saleh? Was it Adam Gase?
Yes, Adam Gase. His introductory press conference, where his eyes were just bugging out. That's what you kind of looked like. Mark that down. We'll put it in the pod.
Back here somewhere. I don't know. Sorry, not to distract. That's what was happening.
That's all good. Why are you distracting us from the beautiful schedule that Katie made up for the 49ers? Starting off week 1 for the Niners, they're at home against, the aforementioned Jets. Then on the road, weeks 2 and 3 against the Vikings and Ram. Back home, weeks 4 and 5 against the Pats and Cardinals. Then they're on the road to take on the Seahawks week 6. 7 and 8, Chiefs and Cowboys at home. They got a bye week 9, right there in the middle of the season. I feel like that's when you want your bye week, right? Then they've got the Bucks on the road, Seahawks at home, Packers and Bills on the road, Bears and Rams back at home, Dolphins on the road, Lions at home, and finish off the season on the road against the Cardinals in the desert. I don't know what you want to say about this team other than they're stacked again. There's all this, and I don't even want to bring up the Brandon Ayuk stuff because honestly, that's like as the world turns. He was supposed to go to the Browns. That's not happening. The Patriots, that's not happening. The Steelers, it's probably not happening. He's probably going to re-sign in San Francisco. So I'm going to assume that they go into this season with Brandon Ayuk on their roster. And I'm going to set the line at 11.5. I believe that's my highest line so far.
You might have put it up there for the Lions.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, which brain. Who knows what I remember or not. Katie, what do you think about that?
You said it, Sean. They still do look so good on paper. It's hard to keep repeating that same success. Like this almost feels like, I don't want to say last dance situation, but like CMC's getting older, George Kittle's getting older. But then they've still got Deebo Samuel, Juwan Jennings, who arguably I think could have been Super Bowl MVP last year. But then they draft Ricky Pearsall. They draft Jacob Cowing, who looks super fast. And then they bring in the Pasternaut at QB2. Like, I like the moves that they're making. So I don't have a lot of doubts about their offense or their defense. Like, they lost Armstead, but he wasn't really looking quite the same to me anyways. Last year, this defense, they were top 3 in points allowed. They could have won the Super Bowl. They were right in it. Obviously, there was a bit of controversy with knowing the overtime rules.
A little bit.
Everybody gets confused.
Can I guess your favorite defensive player on the Niners? It's Nick Bosa, isn't it?
Oh my God, Sean! Why are you just trying to stir things up?
Yeah, we're very aligned on many things, Sean, as you could predict. But yeah, this team is just super complete. The division has gotten a little better, I think. They've got a tough schedule, but I'm taking the over. I'm saying 13-4, maybe 12-5, just because weird things happen. But yeah, like if they stay lucky with injuries, this team is so good.
Katie, I kind of
go ahead, John.
I was going to say, to your point, it's not a last dance moment for me yet. It hasn't reached that point, but it has reached the point of, pardon my French, but shit or get off the pot. Like, this team has been so good for so long. You need to prove something here. And the Chiefs have been that team that's been in your way, whether you had Jimmy G as your quarterback or Brock Purdy. I like the weapons they added. If they can keep Ayuk, I mean, this team is still stacked. Even if they lose Ayuk, I still think this team wins 12, 13 games. Good news for them is they get the Rams at home late. They get the Dolphins later in the season, and that's been a team that has just consistently fallen apart later on in the season. Lions should be a fun one, week 17. Chiefs and Cowboys there in week 7 and 8. That's going to be a tough stretch. Then right off the bye week, you're on the road in Tampa Bay. Like, those aren't going to be easy games, but this team is built to win those tough games. So I'm going over.
This is the NFC West is the Niners division until somebody comes and takes it from them. And I don't see anybody coming and taking it from them. They're a victim of their own success in the fact that they haven't won a championship. They've won a Super Bowl, but they've been there pretty much every year, whether it's losing the NFC Championship to the Rams or having a season fall apart because you lose Jimmy Garoppolo or whatever it is. They have been consistently good, even when the bullets are coming at them from every angle. And that's a testament to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. This year is different, though, because the Brandon Ayuk thing has just dragged on. And now it feels like it's going to be resolved and he's going to end up there. A whole bunch of time wasted for all of us, but I digress. It's a team that is still stocked, still loaded, lost some guys as every team does, but really hard to spot a significant weakness there. And everything they do it well. They are a organization that is stable and has their way of doing it, and pretty much everybody falls in line and they execute. I get tired of covering them at the Super Bowl, but it's because they're good and they're there, and the Chiefs are good and they're there, and it just is what it is. We were all happy to see the Patriots die and disappear, but now we got other teams that are just showing up every year. So there will be other contenders to get in their way. The Lions will have a say, but when it comes to the NFC West, this is their division, and this is the easiest over of any of the division previews that I'm going to take.
At least with the Niners, they're not the team like the Chiefs where, okay, you lose a Tyreek Hill and then win the Super Bowl. They consistently get good. We don't say, okay, they're finally gonna disappear now. No, they're not, because they're just a solid team all the way around. So we're all taking the over. Yes.
Yeah. I don't even need to play the schedule game there.
Cool. Rams up next. A sneaky team from last year. I don't know if anyone had the Rams finishing 10-7. But, I mean, one of the best surprises of the rookie class, Puka Nacua, great name to say, fantasy darling, finish 10-7, make the playoffs. And now I feel like people might be a little high on them this year. Let's take a look at their schedule there, Nick.
Dangerous game to play, being high on a team that surprised. Usually there's a little bit of regression. We'll see.
It's the hope that kills you. Starting off week 1 and week 2, they're on the road against the Lions and Cardinals. And then week 3 back at home for the 49ers. Week 4 on the road in Chicago. Week 5 at home against the Packers. Got an early bye week 6, week 7 and 8 against the Raiders and Vikings at home. Week 9 up in Seattle. Week 10 back at SoFi to take on the Dolphins. Week 11 cross-country trip to take on the Pats. And then the Eagles back home week 12. Week 13 against the Saints on the road. 14 home against the Bills, 15 and 16 road games against the Niners and Jets, and then wrap the season up with 2 straight home games against the Cardinals and Seahawks. I see no reason why this team can't or shouldn't win 10 games again. I mean, I can think of a couple. Regression, the biggest one. But I'm going to hold them accountable. I'm going to hold them to a higher standard. So I will keep that line there at 9.5. Yeah, 9.5. I like it.
I went back and I listened to our.
I'm gonna make you think.
Oh, I have my answer going in. I went back and I listened to our division preview from last season, and Sean, you had set it at 6.5, and all of us went under. I said 5-12 last season, but we shit talked them for like 10 minutes and they cooked us. They cooked us. And listening to it back, I made a point of saying, like, I'm guilty of forgetting how injured they were the season before. And then I continued to go on about how bad they were going to be, as if I wasn't just arguing my own point. Granted, like, none of us knew what Puka Nacua was going to do. They stayed relatively healthy. I think they'll keep it going. They do have some really tough games. Like I said last one, the division is really good. I have 10-7 again, running back the same record.
This team is a bit of a mystery to me, because how do you replace Aaron Donald? You don't. Matthew Stafford was dealing with a hamstring injury. That's kind of concerning. But a lot of what they did well last year, they just kind of built on it in the offseason. I love their draft with Jared Verse. And the defensive tackle from Florida State, his teammate in the first 2 rounds. Those are 2 big time gets to reinforce that front. And I'm curious to see how they operate defensively without Raheem Morris coordinating that defense. But every stride they need to make last year to get back into like the realm of contention, they did, and I think they can build on it this year. My question is, how long is Sean McVay for this team? Because he sure seems to like to be on TV. He spent last weekend in the preseason in the broadcast booth and gave Aubrey Pleasant the keys to the team. Like, auditioning in the preseason under the guise of, we're giving this guy a shot to head coach in the preseason. No, Sean. I know what you're doing. You're auditioning and showing off your broadcast talents because you were on the mic on the headset the week prior and everybody loved it. I see right through your games, but guess what? That doesn't affect my opinion of you. You said it was 9.5, Sean. Let's go over. We're going to go over at 10 without even playing the schedule game with this team either. I think they're good for 10 wins, provided they stay healthy. Like the way they drafted, like where they're headed. Don't think that they're a Super Bowl contender, but I think they'll be very much in a position that they were in last year, and they'll be a fun team to watch again.
I will say this, and Katie, you're not going to appreciate this. I think this team right now, the way it's constructed, you're kind of looking at the new version of the Seattle Seahawks. The team that they don't want to die. They don't want to rebuild. They don't really know how to do that. And so they're going to stay relevant. They're going to stay relatively exciting, but they're really not going to do anything outside of, maybe win 10 games, maybe make a wild card game, maybe squeak their way into the divisional round, something like that. probably gives you a little bit of where I'm going with the Seahawks in a couple of minutes. But I'm actually going to go under, because when I look at this schedule and just see how many surefire wins there are on it, I see maybe a 7 or 8. And then you got to hope for, you play the Niners twice. This is going to be a difficult schedule. Lions, Bears aren't going to be easy. You got the Packers in there too. So I'm going to go under, but I still got them at 9 and 8. I'm not sure if that gets you into the playoffs in the NFC. So I'll go under just to be different from you guys. Moving on to the Seattle Seahawks, who went 9 and 8 last season. Katie, I feel like I should just let you carry this one. You want to read the schedule? Want to shift? No? Want to shift things around? No?
I have too many feelings about this one, but also not a lot of feelings because I don't know what they're going to be. It's your sports book. You set the over-under because mine comes with a strange amount of bias.
All right. Seahawks schedule starting off week 1 against the Broncos, week 2 on the road against the Pats, back at home week 3 against the Dolphins, then on the road against the Lions. Weeks 5 and 6, Giants and Niners at home. Got a little break there, week 7 to take on the Falcons in Atlanta, and then week 8 and 9 back home against the Bills and Rams. Bye week is week 10, and then back on the road week 11 against the Niners, week 12 at home against the Cardinals. Here's where things get interesting, because 4 of their last 6 games are on the road. Jets and Cardinals weeks 13 and 14, home against the Packers and Vikings weeks 15 and 16, and then weeks 17 and 18, Bears and Rams on the road. This is a team that has, as I kind of just mentioned, they've been exciting at times. I don't think, we thought Geno Smith was going to be what he turned out to be. Great for him. But he's also we've seen his ceiling, right? And it's not too high. I don't know if the bottom is about to fall off from this team. And by bottom falls off, I mean they're going to have a losing record. So I'm going to set the line.
You don't say. I didn't know what you meant by bottom falls out of a team. Yeah.
Thanks, Nick.
Clarification. We really needed that.
Didn't order the side of sass there, Nick. I'm going to set the line at 7.5.
Oh, that's unfair, Katie.
I don't know. I kind of see this as a 500-ish team. I just don't really know what they're going to be. Obviously, there's some really big coaching changes. Mike McDonald comes in. I'm curious to see how this offense looks. They still have a ton of talent at receiver and in the backfield, but then the jaded Seahawks fan in me right away wants to say, can the running back stay healthy? Their defense looked awful the back half of the season. And then they lose Bobby Wagner, they lose Jordan Brooks, but they seem like, coming from the building, it sounds like they're pretty hopeful about this defense. They did make some improvements bringing in Tyrell Dodson and Jerome Baker, but I just don't really know how all of it's going to come together this season. They have a lot of pieces there. I don't think Geno is necessarily the long-term solution, so I'm guessing next year they'll kind of be sniffing around the quarterback market again. But yeah, I think they'll be a good enough watch because they have enough of those pieces. But yeah, I'm just kind of watching this season, not out of hope, but more out of curiosity to just see all these new systems, because it's just so weird to picture the Seahawks without Uncle Pete. Oh, 9 and 8. Did I say that? Over.
No.
Could be 8 and 9.
Okay, we're going
over.
Over. Yeah.
Over.
Long story long. I think I'm taking the over.
I played the schedule game in my head real quick, and I had a hard time getting to 9. 7.5. I'm still going to over at 8. It could be 8 and 9, 9 and 8 team. Not an easy schedule. Sets up nice for them the first couple weeks, and then gets pretty tough. Dolphins, Lions, Niners, even Falcons, Bills, Rams. Those are all tough games. 49ers, tough game. Jets, Packers. Who knows what the Bears are?
5
Rams
of their last 8 after the bye are all on the road. That's tough.
Yeah, not fun. So I'm thinking 8 and 9. And Geno's already been through a bit of an injury thing in the preseason. Roster wise, you look at them, you're like, yeah, they could do this, but they also could have done it last year and they didn't. It's just it's a weird in between team to me. A lot of that had to do with the fact that they were in flux and they were headed toward a regime change at coach, and maybe Mike McDonald gets this defense together and they play really well, and that kind of props them up and they win a couple games because of their defense. But in this division, it's tough for me, man. They feel like a third place team, and so even without diving too deep into it, I thought you're right, Katie. I think they will be back in the quarterback market in a year or so, which typically happens with the regime change and a veteran quarterback. It's just I don't feel a ton of momentum, but like they won't be a bad team to watch. Like they'll be competitive. It's just that they're in a tough division. So I'm gonna go over because you said it at 7.5 at 8. That's a low over under there, and
I should have
we'll
said
go
it
from
8.5.
there.
Yeah, I should have said it 8.5.
Yeah, that sports book not perfect, but
you know what? I made my bet. I'm going to lie in it, and I'll go under just to be different from you guys because I can see a scenario where this team is 7-10. I can also see a scenario like they could win anywhere from 7 to 9 games. Like this team it's mid, but it could be exciting to watch, like you said, with all that talent in the backfield and the wide receiver room. Again, health will be an issue or will be key. And if that becomes an issue, then yeah, we're going to see this team kind of falter late. But I'll go under just because got to stick with my guns.
Even on the schedule, like I said, they're a 500-ish team to me. It doesn't even look like there's an easy block for them. It kind of feels very like win, loss, win, loss, win. Like it does.
Yeah.
When I look at the schedule, that's kind of what I get from it.
I mean, I'm not going to say that, they're not going to win this game, but I mean, I can imagine, Bo Nix coming out, beating them week 1 just for the heck of it. Okay, you beat the Patriots week 2, but then you got the Dolphins and Lions. And I mean, everyone's going to beat the Giants, but Niners, Falcons, Bills, Rams, yikes, heading into the bye week. Yeah, this is going to be tough. So, you know what? I feel better actually about my under pick. I will go under. Hopefully it's not like a Rams situation last year where I'm eating my words a year later. Last but not least, actually, last but least in the NFC West, we've got the okay. Well, they were statistically the least last year. We've got the Arizona Cardinals. Katie, didn't you just say this what felt like a third place team in the division?
No, I didn't say that. Did
okay,
I?
Nick said that.
No, I said that about the Seahawks, not the Cardinals.
Yes, the Seahawks. That's what I meant. So, which means by default, I feel like the Cardinals are everyone's pick to finish last. If we're process of elimination there, okay, there we go.
All right, cool. Yeah, let's get the schedule.
Only won 4 games last year. Apparently, Kyler Murray was playing too many video games, something like that.
No, he was hurt for half.
He was hurt until week 10. Sean.
Yeah, Sean.
Yeah, he was playing too many video games, man.
He was hurt. What are you doing in rehab? You play Call of Duty. My God, gotta keep the thumbs in shape.
I was told to stir the pot and be energetic in the chat today, and this is what I get for it. I just get flack. Coming right back at me.
You're stirring the pot with lies. We don't tolerate lies in the Gridiron Podcast.
This show is on the internet. I mean, I don't know what you expect from the internet anymore.
The internet's never lied, Sean.
Never.
Never at all. All right. Cardinals schedule again. Won 4 games last year, but hey, they got Marvin Harrison Jr., so that's something to look forward to. Week 1 against the Bills on the road. Weeks 2, 3, 4 at home against the Rams, Lions, and everyone's favorite team, the Commies. On the road, weeks 5 and 6 against the Niners and Packers, and then week 7 at home against the Chargers. Dolphins on the road at week 8, week 9 back home against the Bears, week 10 at home against the Jets, week 11 to the bye week. And then coming off the bye, they have 2 road games against the Seahawks and Vikings, back home for a pair of home games against the Seahawks and Patriots, Panthers and Rams on the road, and then finishing things off at home against the Niners. You know what? Last week I posed the question, what's the team you think about the least? What's the North American sports team you think about the least? And my answer was the Colorado Rockies. The Arizona Cardinals might also be in that group for me because I spend about no time annually thinking about the Arizona Cardinals. I might now just a little bit more because Marvin Harrison Jr. looks like a stud. But yeah, still I don't think about this team at all. Won 4 games last year.
I don't think about you at all.
You know what? To make this, Katie sounded like she was a little high on this team, so I'll set the line 6.5.
I am pretty high on them this year.
All right, let's discuss.
Okay, let me clarify. I don't think they're going to be necessarily very good. I think they could sneak up on people this year. They won 4 games last year, but they looked friskier than a 4-win team. And now it's their second year with Jonathan Gannon. They get to start the season with Kyler Murray, Sean. But the more I looked at this team, though, and getting ready for this, the more I kind of started to like them. And I don't usually think about them a lot either. with them drafting Marvin Harrison Jr., their receivers suddenly don't look so bad. I think Trey McBride, who was such a bright spot, could take another step forward. They showed some juice last season, and their run game looked really, like, surprisingly good. They randomly beat the Eagles, beat the Cowboys. Like, when they did win, it was kind of some big wins, but even the last few games of the season, it felt like they were more in them. Like, looked like they kind of had something cooking with Kyler being back. And I'm going to say over. I have 8 and 9. I don't think this is going to be like a big winning season for them. I think next year, we're looking at next year, like they might have something building in Arizona, or maybe not, and they'll be very forgettable. But I think there's something fringe happening in Arizona with this team.
What was the line, Sean?
6.5.
6.5.
It feels kind of low too. I don't disagree with what you said, Katie, because they were a different team once they got Kyler back. I mean, they were a team that was forced to roll with Josh Dobbs and Clayton Tune before they got Kyler. So, like, they basically had no shot. And yet they were a little frisky in those games. Once Kyler came back, they won that one game over the Steelers, Sean. You remember that with all those rain delays.
I remember that.
Yeah, I'm sure Sean's tried to forget it plenty since then. Yeah, I like the way you laid it out
against
there.
The Colts, Pats, and Cardinals. What 3-week stretch?
Couldn't
I like
be
the way you
them.
laid it out, Katie. I do. I think you made a lot of good points. 6.5, man, that's low.
That is low.
That's low. Like, but I also played the schedule game, and I was like, Commanders and like Chargers and maybe Bears, and then like Pats and Panthers. That's like 5 wins. Vikings maybe 6. Sneak one out 7. Like, it's a tough road to get to 7 wins. So I'm gonna go under, and I'm gonna go with 6 wins. And that's not to say that they're an unwatchable team, because I think that Kyler being out there, especially Marvin Harrison Jr., is going to be so much fun. It's just that this is a tough division. This is a tough schedule, especially for a 4th place team. And I just don't know what to expect from them. But I will look forward to watch. It's not like the Panthers. Every time I got a Panthers game last year, I was like, oh my God, gouge my eyes out. Not with this team. With this team, I'll look forward to watching them and see where they go. So we're going to go under, but it's going to be a real captivating 6 wins, let me tell you.
I agree with you. I think I'm going under as well. I'll have 6 wins, but it's going to be an exciting 6 wins just because at times Kyler Murray does look so good, but then at times, and it might be because of injuries or just because of something else, he looks lost almost. He hasn't quite lived up to the promise, I think, at times that a lot of people anointed him with already when he came to the league. But that being said, some of the things he's able to do are exciting. And then when you throw in a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. in that offense, yeah, that makes me want to watch the team that I have absolutely no interest in watching on any given Sunday. Yeah, but it's just a tough schedule, so I'm going to go under. Yeah, I'll go under. I feel confident about that one.
Yeah.
All right. That's the NFC West in a hair under a half hour.
Under 30 minutes. Look at that. We're moving. We're moving at the speed of light.
There's no rush, guys.
Nope, too late. We're already rushing.
Lights out and away we go. Let's go over to F1 now, where it is officially race week. Yes, we're headed to the Netherlands.
Wasn't it last year when I panicked and you said, "Where are we going this week?" And I said, "Dutch."
Where are we going this week? Dutch. I mean,
so
I'll pay
that
half
is
the bill,
where
you
we
pay
are
half
going
the bill.
this
Yeah, we
week.
can all go Dutch.
Wait, does that mean does that mean we're all going half on this meal or something? Like, what's going on?
We're
here,
all
Katie?
paying
You're setting the rules.
33.3%.
Okay.
We're heading to Zandvoort, F1 race on the beach this week. Summer break is over. Drivers have been enjoying their breaks. We've seen the Instagram posts and all that fun stuff. And I thought it would be a good time to take a look back at the first half of the season and just hand out some superlatives, our favorite moments, our biggest surprises, letdowns, all of that stuff. So let's allow the hilarity to ensue. We're going to start off with the biggest surprise so far. We're each just going to give a different answer. I don't know if they're all going to be different, but biggest surprise so far. Katie, who's your biggest surprise, or what is your biggest surprise? It can be literally
My
anything.
biggest surprise at summer break is that Max has 3 wins in the last 9 races.
Oh.
And it's not like it's been Checo, because he hasn't been doing that.
No.
But it's not just Ferrari. It's not just McLaren, as it should be. But yeah, heading into the season, we've talked about it before. I We all thought this was just going to be a total wash. We were all looking ahead to 2026. And yeah, they're not winning like they used to be anymore. And it is enjoyable to watch.
Nick, biggest surprise so far?
Oh, it's got to be the resurgence of Mercedes. I love what Katie said because I think she's dead on, but it's got to be the resurgence of Mercedes. This is a team that has lost its way since the regulation changes a couple of years ago. And suddenly, after going 0 pod, they say, screw 0 pod. We're throwing all the pod and we're throwing all the improvements to the car. And suddenly we're back in the fight and we're letting George Russell try to bully his way around the track. And Lewis Hamilton gets a couple of wins. What year is it? I don't know. I'm like Robin Williams in that one movie that I don't know what that meme comes from.
Jumanji.
Okay.
Very good.
Not a cinephile here. Yeah, it's been great. It's been refreshing. I got a guy at the gym that I talk with about F1 all the time. Big Mercedes fan. And every time I just talked to him today, and he was like, "They're bringing the upgrades that they brought to Spa. That the car was too high because of all the undulation and the change in elevation. It's going to work really well.
Undulation, big word.
So, I love undulation. It's a great word. Up and down like a roller coaster. For those of you who are not vocabulary proficient, I said that wrong. What an idiot. Mercedes, man, it's been so much fun. I'm looking forward to the second half of the season. Sean?
Biggest surprise for me so far is just the season in general. Katie, you were right. We were just at the start of this when we were doing like our first race preview. We were like, this is how many races is Max going to win? It ain't coming like it used to. So just the fact that we have an all-time season to look forward to, a second half of a season to look forward to, and then next year, which might just be one of the most, I don't know, have the most parity for F1 since, I don't know, the 50s or 60s. Like, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So just the season in general that we're having, I mean, that really is the biggest surprise so far because no one saw this coming. And at the rate that it's happened, where you had Red Bull dominating so much early on, you saw those lap times and you're like, oh my God, this is unfair. And now you have Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren that are fighting for wins. So it's a lot of fun to do that. Let's move on to biggest letdown. Who's letting you down the most, Katie?
Sean, earmuffs. It's Lando Norris.
Oh, Katie's bringing the heat. Everybody watch out. Get your race suits on.
Sean, just earmuffs for like 30 seconds. He's losing it on his starts. It's officially a trend. He's lost all 5 of his pole positions to a different driver after lap 1. It's a trend. Why does he have 1 win in arguably, I don't even want to say arguably anymore, the best car on the grid? This season, he should have 3, maybe 4 race wins. Even if he loses it on the first lap, he should be making up time throughout the race, but McLaren is a team that has been getting in its own way. Lando plus McLaren, but he's been a letdown for me. And I know that sounds crazy because he had his first race win this season. Miami, he shouldn't have won that race. It should have been Oscar. Yes, there were other times where he could have, but McLaren blew it or something weird happened, but the car's too good. Why do you have 1 race win?
Okay. Sean is stewing right
now.
I agree with you, Katie, but my biggest letdown has been Checo Perez by far. I mean, just talking about wasting a car and not being able to figure out how to drive the damn thing, keep it between the boundaries. Oh, it's been frustrating.
But did you have high expectations of him?
Better than this.
Higher than this.
This is the Minister of Defense a few years ago. He is directly responsible, plus Michael Massey, for Max Verstappen winning his first World Drivers' Championship, and now he's an afterthought.
At least we're honest.
The guy can't even get out of Q1. What are we doing? And then they extended him. We've talked about this ad nauseum. I'm not going to get into it. Biggest letdown by far, Checo Perez.
Breathe,
Sean. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know how to continue this. I think I just want to log off now. I did not expect this level of backstabbery from Katie tonight. Like A2 Brute.
It's like
excuse me, let me just reach behind my back and pull the knife out that you just plunged and twisted in there. Yes, it's been disappointing. Don't you think I know that? Biggest disappointment? I don't know, because I don't know if we had those expectations to begin with. I think it's a bit of a hyperbole. Bit of an exaggeration there, Katie. Don't you think? I might have to call the hyperbole police on you for this one. Biggest letdown for me so far, I was also going to say Checo Perez. It's just been as bad as some other drivers have been. Like, when Logan Sargent is out qualifying you consistently in a Williams, not to mention it's Logan Sargent. Like, did I mention that he's Logan Sargent? That's a problem. We have a problem here. You could also throw in Daniel Ricciardo here too, because I thought I figured we all were kind of going to say, hey, he's going to prove that he is way better than Yuki and he deserves that second Red Bull seat. Clearly, he hasn't. Clearly, Red Bull aren't comfortable putting either Yuki or Daniel in that second Red Bull seat, and so they're rolling the dice on Checo. So you could also throw Daniel in there for that one. But how about what's our next one? Best unhinged radio message. I love it. Katie, what do you got?
It's hard to pick one. My answer is just George Russell.
Yes. Yes.
Every time I look through my vibes notes from the race, there's always a George quote. We've heard holy moly and blimey and crikey and yabba dabba doo.
Yabba dabba doo. Yeah,
I feel like
boom shakalaka in that one too.
Like, I don't know how he gets away with it, because he's still so like cool weirdly, whereas a lot of people can't necessarily get away with that. He's the most I've said this before, he's the most British man that's ever existed. It's like you hear the George radio come on and you can hear Rule Britannia start to play in the background.
Rule Britannia, yabba dabba doo.
But I love his like secret side quest as Officer George Russell, where he's like telling on everybody else as if everyone doesn't have the same camera views and like, they have so much more information than he does. But Verstappen's driving in an erratic manner. It's so funny when Officer George comes out, because if anybody's doing anything around him, he will make it known on the radio. And I really grown to love when the George Russell radio beep comes up.
Yeah. I think, is that everyone's answer? Just George Russell is the correct answer. No, Nick. Okay,
No.
well, George Russell was my answer too, and it was the yabba dabba doo specifically. Nick, what's your answer? Best unhinged radio message.
We could just go with the Hungarian GP in general, but
Yes.
really, specifically, I'm going to go with Max Verstappen being cranky because he was accused of being up late sim racing the night before. Oh, it sounds like he's a cranky guy who was up too late on the sim last night, just getting all pissed off with the car and everything else, and fighting with GP and everything else. That was probably my favorite. Not to mention the whole Lando silent treatment that he gave his engineer during that race before finally surrendering the position.
The best part of that was, Lando, think of the children.
Think of the children.
Think of your teammates, Lando.
All those Sunday morning meetings that we had together
Oscar.
as a family.
That really was like, give that guy an Oscar just for his act. Think of all the meetings. Think of all
Unhinged was George, but my favorite was Get In There, Lewis. That was the one that made me ugly cry. As I was writing in my notes, Get In There, Lewis, and then he said it. Very special.
That is always great to hear that. Let's piggyback off that Hungarian talk, though, into spiciest moment of the season. And we've had several this year. I'm going to go first. And I feel like a lot of people are going to say that the interaction at Monaco, but I'm going to say Yuki's shot across the bow. What race was that where he just...
It was early.
Literally a shot across the bow against... Bahrain. I think, Bahrain. After the race ended, he just drives right past Daniel Ricciardo and just weaves in front of him and almost causes a collision, locks up in front of him, too. Gets called immature by Daniel for that. And that was race 1. So Yuki shot across the bow, the spiciest moment of the season for me.
Katie.
Okay, you guys can tell me if this doesn't count, because it wasn't during the season, but the off season counts. Lewis going to Ferrari for me. I just feel like no one saw that coming. Like it's one of those moments for me where I'll never forget where I was when I found out. And then people much smarter than me were really, really surprised. Then I felt validated that I didn't know what was going on. I still can't quite believe it. And I've seen the photoshopped Ferrari kit on him, but
it just feels wrong.
Feels so wrong. But honestly, that to me was the spiciest moment. There have been
It's great. There have been a lot. I'm torn right now because I want to go back to the Hungarian GP and go with what I just talked about with Lando and everything, because that was just so dramatic. It was so like pearl clutching moment for F1. Supposed to be like the pinnacle of motorsport. People are battling, and here's Lando refusing to give up the position. So that's probably right up there. But I'm also gonna go not so much spicy, but just hilarious. In a sad way, the Canadian GP. Charles Leclerc dealing with every engine issue possible. And he's like telling them, I'm losing time. I'm terrible. And they're like, just keep driving. Just keep driving. Just keep driving.
No one's going to say the all Alpine collision in Monaco where Esteban Ocon
They're an afterthought.
just yeeted his car into his teammate on a wet track in Monaco. Like, what are you doing, bro? And now he doesn't have a drive. Well, he's going to be with Haas next season, but he's kind of kicked out of the team for that pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, that tracks too. That tracks. Actually,
there were so many this year that I feel like if you brought them up as your answer, I would have been like, oh yeah, that's a good one. Like, it's been such a good season.
It's been a great season, both drama and on track. Let's go to, and this is how Katie typed this out. Messiest bitches. We can say team, but you know I mean bitches. That's Katie's writing, not mine.
That was supposed to be a homies only note, but I love that it made the show.
Super producer.
We've even put team on the lower third, but you know what we really mean. Messiest team. Katie.
Red Bull are some messy bitches this year.
Yeah.
How do you fumble a bad bitch like Adrian Newey?
So,
I mean, Christian Horner kept his job with all the accusations. One of your driver forgot how to drive a car. Yas is in the media saying the wildest stuff. Adrian Newey alone makes them the messiest team this year. But overall, the vibes have been very wild around Red Bull. And at the beginning of the season, when it was so messy, they were still so dominant. And then very quickly, they kind of started to fall, not into the midfield, but not the automatic Max is winning by 45 seconds. It got a lot more interesting.
You've got Emperor Palpatine. Not to mention you got Emperor Palpatine,
don't forget
Helmut
him.
Marko in the background, just bad-mouthing his drivers left and right and saying some borderline racist things sometimes. So yeah, Red Bull
borderline.
We gotta give them the crown for messiest team, but I feel like there's a few others, Nick.
I'm actually gonna go shocker here, McLaren. In the way
if
that
you weren't gonna say it, I was.
Yeah, and the way that they've messed up strategy with their drivers, and the whole Hungarian GP again, the way that they messed that up. They are a contending team that doesn't know how to act like contenders yet, and it shows on a near weekly basis. Whether it's Lando struggling through turn one and giving up the lead or whatever it is, or through just strategy decisions and not figuring out who to give preferential treatment to, who's driver one and who's driver two. Like, they just don't know how to act. Like, they got in the club and they shouldn't be in the club. At least they don't know that they should be in the club. They're like, oh my God, it's also
from outside the club. You can't even get in.
You can't even get in.
No, honestly, to me, they're like standing in line at the club. They're like, I forgot my ID.
There's a cover. What?
Do you guys have an ATM here where you're like there, but
yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, exactly. I'll give you my ID. I just need to go to the back and grab the $10 cover real quick, guys. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Are these bottles free? Oh, I have to pay for these? Oh, and it's already here, so I can't. Oh, how? Oh, that okay. All right. I got to make a phone call. That's McLaren.
I feel like both of those are really good answers. And this team has turned down the messiness slightly in the past couple of weeks, but I'm going to go with Alpine there, especially early on. The wreck, the race, the way they were racing each other, the terrible just stature of that car early on in the season. It made for some messy races, but definitely Red Bull and McLaren got to be 1 and 1A up there. Honorable mention, Alpine, at least in my book.
Two top teams.
Yeah. Silly season move. And Katie, why did you fire the bullet early? It's Lewis Hamilton. That was the silly season. Like, that was what started it all.
That's not silly to me, though. I love it. I think it's cool. I'm excited about it.
Hates
it. I'm not saying it's like a weird move or a head scratcher, but it broke the internet. It broke the F1 news cycle. Like, that's silly season to me.
Oh, I meant like silliest as in dumbest to me. That's what I was taking it as. That to me, like my answer is Esteban Ocon to Haas because I just don't
Yes.
understand why he has a job
Why?
next year.
Yeah,
When you were talking
exactly.
about
And
Monaco,
poor
I'm like, oh, I shall be talking about him in a moment.
ah,
But
I
yeah, like,
see. I see what you were doing. Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hey, all answers
I
are good answers, my friend.
Right. Well, I feel in that case, yeah, I think it is. I think it is Esteban Ocon to Haas because it happened so quickly, and again, it was like you come on, you couldn't like find someone else, you couldn't give someone else a drive, and poor Ollie Behrman, who is now going to be in
Yeah.
danger of being yeeted into every single week. God help
Every
that
week.
tiny British man.
There's just so many like up and comers that I'd love to see. I'd like to see, like we already had 2 seasons back to back of the exact same driver lineup. Tomato, tomato. Let's get some new people in there.
Tomato,
I believe
tomato.
it's pronounced tomato. Nick, who you got?
You guys already know Carlos Sainz of Williams. I mean, I know
Yeah.
Katie's been pounding the table for Williams for months now on this show, but oh, my heart is broken. It's been broken many times, and especially by Carlos Sainz ending up at Williams, and by Red Bull not even getting in the game with him by re-signing Checo Perez. What are you doing? You could have made a dream driver duo with your team, and instead you stuck with the guy who's washed, who can't drive the damn car, and then you let a talented driver go to a crappy team that's not as crappy as it was before, but the bar is so low, it's underground. Why is he at Williams? Oh, it pains me. I'm not looking forward to watching him drive that car next year.
No, totally get it. I think that's also the right move because he's overqualified for the job.
Yeah.
If McLaren don't know how to get inside the club, Carlos Sainz like voluntarily walked out of the club.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
To
All
stand
right,
with them in line.
We want best bromance? Best bromance. I don't have one for this.
Katie
Katie?
knows 'cause
Oh,
she's
there's
smiling.
so
Yeah,
many
Katie's
options
got
for
one.
this. I have Charles
Okay,
and Lewis.
expound.
Charles and Lewis for
Charles and
me.
Lewis. Okay. Well,
Yes,
I think you're half right. It's Leo and it's oh shoot,
Roscoe.
what's Lewis? Roscoe. Jesus, I'm sorry, Roscoe. It's Leo and Roscoe. I think that's the
And
right
you
answer.
claim to be a dog person?
And an F1 fan?
My dog's name is Lando, so yes, I can claim to be both.
Yeah, like a big part is their dogs have now been brought into the relationship and they've met, and it was just so beautiful seeing Leo and Roscoe together.
Yes.
I just love that they're already kind of gravitating towards each other, and there's been a few moments of like a driver parade, and Lewis is kind of sitting by himself, and Charles goes and sits with them and hang. Like it feels like they're very seen by one another already, which is great
Yes.
for a high functioning, healthy relationship. There was a really funny moment where Will Buxton asked Charles, what do you look for in a teammate? And Lewis was on the couch and he just kind of like giggled and then smiled and looked over and he goes, hey, Lewis. And I was like, that's it. There's my answer right there.
That was a little too, by the way, that look was a little too promiscuous. Just a little bit.
Yes, I'm definitely the target audience to be saying things like that too.
I was going to say that was intended for Katie specifically. And it
Yeah, I
worked.
usually react very well to these types of things being said.
No, I meant the look Charles gave him, not your look, Katie.
I thought you meant me recreating the look. I'm like,
No.
Sean, poor Sean.
Now he's
I
uncomfortable.
meant
This
the
is
look
great.
Charles gave Lewis. Gosh.
That
Oh
one
my
was
God.
promiscuous in a really
Thank
beautiful,
you,
amazing
yes.
way. Oh yeah, the
Yes, it
connection
was
is there
so
already.
sweet.
The bromance is
Mhm.
there. I'm in.
Nick, you got
my
one?
Best, I had one. I just lost it.
Carlando.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of last year.
I know, but they still find
I mean,
they find each
Sergio
other.
Perez in the wall. Sergio Perez in Q3.
Wow.
Oh.
Fernando Alonso and a just growing disdain for everything. He just hates life.
He's learning. He's learning real quick. This sucks.
That's my best off the top of the head one. I don't have one. I do want to go to the chat real quick. Katie, you're not going to like this, but Troy Meeker over on YouTube. Again, you can watch this on YouTube live. You can watch this on replay as well as Twitch. And you can find us on your favorite podcast platforms. He says, bring back, do you even know?
Yes, Troy. Yes.
It's not ringing a bell. What does he
The people
mean
don't
by
forget,
that?
Katie. The people don't forget.
It was like 8 years ago.
8 years ago. It was like a year ago.
6
I
months
know,
ago.
that's what they say
Maybe
in
Troy.
Superbad before he says, people don't forget.
Pepperidge Farm, remember?
Troy, I've been banging down that door to no avail, but hopefully one day, maybe we could release Katie from those obligations, or maybe not.
Release Katie from the
Be fun.
podcast.
It would help the social
Best
network.
dressed. Best dressed. I mean, it's got to be Lewis Hamilton, right? Like,
It's always Lewis Hamilton.
It's not.
it's always Lewis Hamilton. It's not. Well, okay.
Not,
I know
not
who you're gonna
automatic
say.
anymore.
I know who you're gonna say. Go for it.
Is it joke on you?
It's Zhou Guanyu. Yes.
Whoa.
I
They do
love
have
what
like
he has
kind of
going
similar
on.
fashion styles. Yeah.
They do. That's why I feel like Lewis was automatic forever.
Yep.
And Zhou brings some serious style to the grid. Big time. I went on a deep dive today of all of his outfits for the pod. And then I ended up just like,
Research.
I found this really cool interview where he was asked what his inspiration is for his fashion. And he said his golden fashion rule is to just follow his heart. And I feel very inspired by that because my
Yes.
fashion sense as I'm getting older is getting a little more unhinged, which is
Oh,
great.
Yeah, I mean, good for you, Katie. You live your truth, fashion-wise.
Thanks.
As somebody who
You
has
feel
no fashion,
comfortable in it, wear it. I always
Follow your
love how
heart.
most everyone else just arrives in their team gear. But then you also, I got to give a shout out. You got George Russell, who usually just looks like he walked out of a J. Crew.
yes,
Is it for everyone? No, but it's for him, and he's at least not just wearing a Mercedes branded T-shirt.
Follow your heart, George.
Exactly. Maybe if we had voted for most preppy, he definitely would have won that.
But
Last
yeah,
one we got.
Lewis is like an automatic one too.
Yeah.
Like it's a tie
Right.
for first, but I felt like everyone was going to say Lewis, but I just wanted a chance to talk about Joke on You.
good for you.
We've got Mr. Congeniality. Is that like best person that could enter a beauty pageant and impersonate as a cop, or?
Yes, exactly. This is
Oh,
kind
okay.
of like you bring a lovely energy. You're not necessarily even remotely close to the top. But Miss Congeniality, you're like you're the good personality. And I think he's too close to the top. My answer is Valtteri Bottas.
Oh yeah,
Because
naturally.
he
Well,
is
yeah.
not, he's driving a tractor and he's not in the points basically ever. But he's such a delight to have around. He's a delight to see his content, any interviews, his ass calendar. Like, what doesn't this guy bring?
His ass
I feel like he's all vibes. He's all vibes. He's all vibes and all cheeks at this point.
Oh yeah,
What more do you need for Mr. Congeniality?
50% cheeks, 50% vibes.
I just like how Oscar is
Perfect cheek to
just
vibe ratio.
Oscar's demeanor is so dry and just so sincere. Like you can tell he really just doesn't give a shit. And then you've got his mom over his shoulder going nuts on social media. So I do love Oscar's whole aura. Very demure.
My pick
which is a word that I just learned this week.
My pick is Yuki Tsunoda because he's grown up so much this year. He's not the petulant young driver that he used to be. He had a moment of weakness early in the season that he grew from. He's much more palatable for the average F1 person in charge. You know, the PR people they don't have to wrangle him into the pen anymore and make him act right. He's grown up. And so, you know, he's starting to become pleasant, and hopefully, I don't know if he ever will, but hopefully he gets a chance to prove himself outside of a car like the V car.
Gotcha. All right, those are our superlatives for episode 44 of the Gridiron Podcast.
Sean just doesn't take one. I'm just kidding. You
No, I said
Not
I
doing
said
Hit or
Oscar
Love It?
chemistry.
I know.
Are you just skipping the whole segment?
No, I was ending that segment, but you guys were interrupting me.
As we do.
Now we're going to go to Hate It or Love It, as we do every week on the Gridiron Podcast.
Wait, did we not want to do a Dutch Grand Prix preview real quick? That is this weekend.
It's race week.
It's race week,
Oh,
dog.
it is.
Oh,
54
welcome
minutes.
back, Sean. Let's do it as fast as possible. Podium predictions, go.
Again, there's no rush for this episode anymore. Plans have been canceled.
Podium predictions. Nick, go.
All right. First place. Lewis Hamilton. Let's do it, baby. Why not? Yeah.
Right.
Woo. Max Verstappen P2. And let's go Oscar Piastri P3.
All right, gotcha. I'm going with Max Verstappen P1, Lewis Hamilton P2, and Lando Norris P3.
Katie's like, wow, I can't handle the speed.
We can speak at a normal pace. I'm getting anxiety right now.
Katie, did you like my sound? That's my brain working at high speed.
Actually, that's what a lot of my inner monologue sounds like, but even less
Just
organized.
a bunch of mumbles.
Yeah,
Sounds like
that's
a
what
jazz
happens
scat
most.
singer just in my brain 24/7.
Skibidi-bop-bop-bop-dow.
Who took that recording from my brain?
Me, I'm in there.
We are so unhinged at this point. Katie, your podium predictions. Let's go.
Everybody take a breath. I think Oscar Piastri gets a win here.
Oh.
And his second win before Lando does. Because I'm a bit of I'm leaning into being a Lando hater this episode.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
I'm
baby.
allowing myself to really sit in that. So I'm going to do Oscar and then Lewis and George.
Okay.
That's my
no
podium.
Max. No Max in the podium. Okay. At his home race. Okay.
And it's home race.
It's a lot of wasted orange flares. Okay. All right.
Shoot.
Well, if Oscar wins, they can send him off.
Yeah, it's not papaya, though.
Actually, it's papaya.
Actually. Inside jokes. We're building something here, folks.
Right.
Let's go.
There's your Dutch Grand Prix race predictions. F1 is back. NFL is about to be back. It's the best time of the year, baby. Let's do hate it or love it real quick.
Not for my brain.
Yeah. I'm going to guess none of y'all prepare to hate or love. So, Nick, what's your hate? Yep.
Oh,
just as I
damn.
thought.
I actually had one. And now I completely... Oh, I know. This has been a great summer. This has really been a great, last 5 weeks for me personally. The weather has been fantastic, save for when I had my power knocked out for 3 days. It's been warm, and I've really basked in the warmth and the humidity and gone sleeveless as much as humanly possible. I've worn the short inseam shorts a lot, showing off the quads. Much to the delight of everybody around me who wants to check out, the teardrop and I'm just BSing. The temperature has dropped a little bit here, and it's getting darker earlier, and I'm being reminded that winter is coming. And Sean, you can't relate with this because you live in Florida, but in Ohio, I'm dreading it. This might be the first time in my life I'm truly dreading winter, and fall isn't even here yet. Fall is actually my favorite season, save for the fact that I'm, inundated with work at that time of year. I'm just sad. I know, Sean. I know. I used to live in LA where it was 90 in December. I know. But I'm just not looking forward to having to put a jacket on. I'm not looking forward to not wearing shorts everywhere.
I don't need to bring a jacket next week, do I?
No, next week it's going to be warm. It's actually going to be very balmy. But after that...
No, it's not.
Probably. Yeah, it's going to be in the 80s. Oh, sorry, it's not Florida hot.
Dude, I did a 5K in 92-degree heat tonight at 7:30. Anything below that is golden for me.
Well,
I'm not bragging. It's insufferable when it's 90 degrees at 7:30 at night.
I know that life.
Yes, as
Katie,
Katie can all attest, because Canada was on fire figuratively and literally this summer.
Very much. Still
yes.
Largely is, but yeah, ours has gone out, the one that I could see from my condo, which is very nice that I'm not having to see the flames flicker behind the mountain at night. That's kind of sweet.
That's nice.
That's good.
Yeah,
the little things, my hate this week, we are having a wasp crisis right now where I live, and we don't usually, and this season the last few weeks have been wild and very scary for anyone allergic. I got stung at work yesterday, and I hadn't been stung by a wasp in 20 years. I forgot how painful that shit is.
Yeah. Do you know
and
what? I work. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
I don't even remember.
No, now it's Sean.
It's gone.
When I worked as a lifeguard, we had these little Sting Be Gone capsules, and they're these little glass tubes. You break them, the liquid seeps down like this cotton swab, and you put it on, and it immediately just numbs the area, and it worked like a charm. I got stung by 2 bees on the inside of my toe one day, and it hurt so much, but I immediately went back to the guard room and just cracked open one of those tubes, and it was great. Oh man, was it great.
It brings a new meaning to cracking open a cold one. I have 2 bee sting stories real quick. One, when I was a kid, my mom used to manage a horse farm out in Kent, actually not far away from campus, and I got stung by a wasp on the backside of my knee, and it like blew up, and I couldn't walk, and I was like 7 years old. Brutal, miserable experience. And then the other one was we were at a park with a swimming pool, Macca Park in Talmadge, and my dad went to take a sip from a Diet Coke can, and he didn't know there was a bee inside the can, and the bee came out of the can as he went to drink and stung him in the lip. And I'm not kidding you, his lip quadrupled in size. And as a 5-year-old, traumatic event. Let me tell you, I thought my dad was going to die from bee sting because he had a blown up lip. So bees suck.
Those suckers hurt. Like something so small, how does it hurt so GD bad?
Bees.
Yeah.
We love bees.
We need
don't
them,
like wasps. I
but
feel
they
like
also
we need
suck.
to establish that. See, I don't like accepting bee slander on this podcast.
A new lane for Katie. We didn't know about this.
I'm very passionate about bees, but I have a deep hatred for wasps, and those two things are very separate for me. Both those
What a
worlds
wasp
coexist.
thing to say. What a wasp thing to say.
A wasp.
Katie Caldwell will slander Lando Norris, will not slander bees.
Yeah,
Sean,
big bee guy.
Do you remember DePeister Street? The guys at DePeister, they just go, bees!
No, I don't.
Thought you might remember that as a callback from back in the day. Jason, if you're watching, bees! All right, let's go to your hate, Sean.
I got rained on today. Just one of those
Oh, boo-hoo.
with a camera. Like I was in the middle of
Now
a
it's
field
serious.
shooting a soccer story, and it completely ruined my story. And I had to wake up so early to go do it, and the practice got rained out, so now I have to wake up again early tomorrow morning and go back to that same practice and hopefully not get rained on. But I got soaked, and the worst part about it was I couldn't go home and change because I had to go cover a football practice right next door. So I had to stay in my soaking wet clothes. My hair looked like a drowned rat. Yeah, just not fun. And then to make things worse, I'm like, I'm going to go cheer myself up and go get a Starbucks. And the Starbucks was under renovation, so I couldn't get a Starbucks. It was just, just I hate this morning, I guess. I really hated this morning.
What's your
Yeah.
Starbucks order?
Brown sugar, oat milkshake, and espresso.
I knew it would be something really niche and specific.
It's really
those
tasty.
those are super tasty. Do
They
you
are
get
great.
the cold foam, Sean?
No, I don't get the cold foam on top. I just like, and honestly, I can tell like when it's darker and it's better. Honestly, I don't like it super sweet. Sometimes they're a little too sweet and a little too oat milky. But no, I oat milky.
We're milking oak trees now.
So many oats in there, but no,
Katie,
BOSC. It's for me.
What's yours?
I'm like the most basic person. I just go and I'm like, can I have a latte, please? They're like, regular milk? I'm like, perfect.
No. Okay.
Yeah, I just like, yeah. That's it.
Mine is
Now you know me.
yeah, now I know what to order you next time we're in the same place, which will be in 5 years.
Next Super Bowl. We'll see. I'll see you next Super Bowl.
Maybe. New Orleans. Find the Starbucks in New Orleans. Mine is venti Americano with oat milk. Simple.
Cannot get behind an Americano, but I respect your decision to do that.
Thank you. Please respect my decision.
Yes. What's your love, Nick, besides a venti Americano?
I don't think I have one. It's not because I don't have things to love. I just can't think of one specifically. I love street festivals. The Feast of the Assumption was this weekend in Cleveland, in Little Italy, and I got some Italian food, and it was delicious, and it was fun to be out on the street, bopping around with the locals. Everybody's there, good street festival.
Would you say you were babba-da-booping around?
I was bopping around. I was going up to, random old Italian guys. As a Sicilian, I'm allowed to do that. Boppity-boopy. No, it was cool. It was real nice.
Katie, your love?
I love that F1 is back. I need my
Yeah.
whole personality to come back because we've talked about summer break. Like, it's cool seeing what they're up to, but like, I need race weekends back. I
Yeah,
love the
true.
structure of it. I don't have a TV in my bedroom just out of principle, but then almost every night I've been sleeping in the downstairs bedroom that has a TV and then falling asleep to a different race every night. But most of the time I don't fall asleep to it. All of a sudden it's like 1:30 a.m. and I'm on lap 56 of something and my sleep schedule is screwed. But I really miss F1. So I'm doing strange things and I have strange habits right now out of desperation. So I'm happy that race week is here. We made it.
We did. My love is, if you guys cannot tell, I am in a new room.
I thought you were.
And I moved into a new house, finally. It's been trials and tribulations trying to get out of the old one. Not really, just we had to wait for this one to become available. Hate moving. Done it way too many times over the past couple of years. Such is life when you're leasing and working contract to contract. But love this place. Moved in. Everything's been great. And it's just been a real relief when you don't dread going home and you feel comfortable and you feel at home, in your own room, in your own bed, in your own living room. So it's great so far. So knock on wood that doesn't nothing happens where it becomes a hellhole again. But no, love that we finally kind of feel like home, like we're at home now. So that's been great.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's the best feeling.
It is. This has been episode 44 of the Gridiron Podcast, and as a reminder, you can email us at thegridironpodcast3. Guys, damn those other two. Thegridironpodcast3 at gmail.com. Drop us an email. Just say hi. Ask us how the weather is. Tell us how much you love us. Tell us how much you hate us.
No.
We have somebody on Twitter right now.
I get enough of that.
Yeah, our fragile egos can't handle that.
Somebody on Twitter right now is all over us for not getting too deep enough into the Seahawks before giving our projections. Put it
That's
in
fair.
email. Go ahead.
Yeah. Do it. I dare you.
Do it.
Oh, I'm sorry we didn't talk more about the Seahawks. We could have.
That's okay. We'll talk more about them when they don't win 7 games this year. Hey-o! Hey-o! Baba the Boopy. Hey, I'm walking here with your shoots and your shirts.
And your white t-shirt, your shoes, and your pants.
And your shirts.
Take your shoes and go to the back of the line. Stand there with your shirt. For Nick Shook and Katie Caldwell, I'm Sean Barie. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Gridiron Podcast. Next time we have one of these things, we'll be breaking down the Dutch Grand Prix and another NFL division. For Nick and Katie, I'm Sean. As always, live life in the fast lane, folks.
And don't forget to bring an umbrella like Sean did today.
God, Nick.
Good night, Ray Gun.
Good night, Dutch.